What's up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of All Things Baltimore Sports Foul Ball Talk. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. My co-host, Tim Malarkey, back after a little bit of an extended break. What is going on, Tim?
Matt, what is going on? We got 2 games left to finish up this June gauntlet.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. It has been a rough, better part of the 6 weeks now, Tim.
It definitely has. It definitely has. I ran the numbers before we got on, so we got 2 games left. We are. I guess I'll start just run through the quick June rundown real quick for you. Um, June started with Tampa Bay, 3-game series. We went 2-1. Then we went to Toronto for a 4-game series. We went 2-2. 4-game series back with Tampa Bay. We swept them 4-0. 3-game series with Atlanta, 2-1. 3-game series with Philadelphia, 2-1. 3-game series against the Yankees. That was a beautiful one. We took two of, and we went 2-1. 3-game series with Houston. We went 0-3. That's where the fun began. Then came Cleveland, where we won the last game of the series. We went 1-2, 5-game skid during that time. First 5-game skid since Adley Rutschman had joined the Orioles. And we are currently at the halfway mark in our Texas series, where we have won the first 2 games. So we are 17-11 right now through that June gauntlet. We have 2 games left. So potentially, hopefully, knocking on wood, we could come out of that at 19-11.
That's incredible. If you really want to think, if you really think back to maybe about the third week of May, we've had a very rough stretch, and to win the games that we've won, and even in the midst of a 5-game losing streak, 17-11 is impressive.
It is. It is very impressive. That is like I said, if we come out of this at 19-11 after that, after those teams I just named, and not to mention we have had 3 off days in the last 45 days. One in the last, I think, is 15 or 7, might be 17. 19-11, I'll take it all day. Even if we, get one more out of this Texas series and finish it 18-12, I will take it. We are currently win percentage wise sitting at the top of the division. So the Yankees did us a favor. Yankees did us a solid while we were losing. So that's really all you can ask for right now. I think I said at the beginning of the year, if we can enter the All-Star break sitting in first place, it would be a beautiful thing. And judging by the last, I would say 9-10 days, the scope of the Yankees is pretty ugly. Lots of disgusting errors. They don't look the part right now. Their pitching, since Garrett Cole has come back, has come down to earth, and that's all we can ask for, especially with that break coming up. Speaking of breaks, it's interesting to me. We technically have an off day finally come Monday, but realistically speaking, it's not an off day because tomorrow night's game is the Sunday night baseball game, and then they're taking a red-eye flight out to Seattle. So the guys will get there in the early mornings Monday, and they'll sleep in. You know what I mean? I'm sure they'll be beat up from the get-go, and they'll have a little bit of time, maybe do dinner or something Monday. But as Hyde put it, they're essentially losing that off day. Whoever made this June schedule for the Orioles was clearly drunk, but I digress.
Yeah, and not to mention with the not to add on to insult to injury with the Yankees. The Yankees have experienced the injury bug, and Giancarlo Stanton's on the shelf again. So it's one of those situations where the Yankees are starting to come back down to earth, like you were saying, even with their pitching, but as a team in general. Juan Soto's going through a rather poor slump right now, and uh, like like you like you alluded to, it's great the fact that every time we were losing, the Yankees were losing, so we didn't lose any ground because that 5-game skid could have been a catastrophe if the Yankees would have maintained some winning during that stretch of 5 games. And here we are, getting ready to end this June gauntlet. We got a nice little break coming up in about 2 weeks for the All-Star break, but it seems like half our team might be in the All-Star game, so it's not really.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get to, is that yeah, it's a break, but all of our quote unquote all-star sluggers, shining lights, they are all going to be in the game, it appears, or in some capacity. So while it is a break and they're gonna go down there and have some fun and do the thing, and I love it that we're going to be very well represented. At the same time, it's not like the team is getting that solid, go home, see the family, relax kind of thing, which could be a good thing. Keep them fresh, keep them hot, keep them on the move. Don't let them settle. But I guess we'll see. You will never hear me complain about having 6 potential all-stars. So
Yes, and it's been nice to see Jordan Westberg get his long due respect in terms of All-Star voting. Now I know the Orioles fans have been padding these ballot boxes with the All-Star game, but um, you know, obviously Burns is going to be an All-Star. Adley's going to be an All-Star. Mountcastle, Westbrook, Gunner. It's crazy that the entire infield is making the All-Star team with the exception of second base.
Yep. No, Westberg snuck in there at the end. And a surprise to me was I don't think he's going to finish as the starter, but O'Hearn snuck in there at the end too. And I was kind of big on that because I think it's well deserved for O'Hearn. He's kind of been the unnoticed, untalked about DH role, sliding in there, and his story I just really like a lot. Mike Elias, gem, really struggles in Kansas City, gets cut from the team, and then now he's made it to the second round of the All-Star voting with the Orioles, and he's just never met him in person, but what they say about him and his family, they travel well to all the games, and they're just himself, his wife, his family, they're really, really genuine, nice people. And of course, I have a little bit of bias with him being a good old Irish boy, so.
Definitely. I wanted to talk about some of the Orioles that are playing rather well, and you and I have both been very critical of this Orioles outfield for the majority of this season, Tim, and with good reason. Um, Hayes is still kind of muddling along right now, but Cedric Mullins is coming on super hot, and it's crazy to see. And so is Tony Santander. These guys are playing really good baseball right now, and we were crapping on them for majority of our time on screen together.
We were, and they are. Cedric is entering rare, very hot form right now, which is exciting to see. Little nervous that he's getting red hot like this, right before that he's going to get that 2-week break. So I hope he can, do what it takes to maintain it. I really liked what he said in an interview. He was asked, I think it was Melanie Newman asked him, now that he's back and he's hitting well, he's seeing the ball well. Is he comfortable? Does he feel good? And his answer was no. He's like, I'm not going to stop working. So that was refreshing. It's not like he hit his peak where he wants to be and now he feels good again. Like, he's still hungry. He still wants to get back to his form. A little bit not concerning, but what's funny is with this gridlock, and when you have guys like Tony and you have Cedric that are hot again, and then you have Kjerstad who's up, and since his call up, he's been hitting the hell out of the ball. And then if you would have asked me 2 weeks ago, Cowser wouldn't have even been mentioned because, he was falling deep into the abysmal category and hadn't been on his P's and Q's lately. But, over the last, 5 games, I think he has 3 home runs, and he looks like he's fallen back into form. So we could potentially, I don't know if it's the beard with him. The beard's back now, and now he's hitting the ball out of the park again. So It'll be interesting to see like this, that it, like we always say, Matt, it's a really good problem to have. But when you have Mullins, Tony, Heston, Cowser, and then your bench player who you can barely squeeze in the lineup is a guy like Austin Hayes. I mean, it's it's awesome.
Yeah. It's crazy that this is all happening right up to the trade deadline. And for the longest time, a lot of people that have been on social media and even over the radio airwaves, they've been talking about the need for an outfield bat. And now I hate to, I hate to backpedal on what I've been saying with Mullins in particular. Do you ride this out and hope that he stays this hot all, at least somewhat for the rest of the season? Or do you capitalize and get bullpen help or get a starting pitcher while Mullins is hitting the ball rather well?
So that's what I was gonna, funnel into conversation with you is we had said earlier in the season how with Tony's performance and with Cedric's performance that they essentially didn't have much trade value at the time being. Now you have Tony, who has hit, I don't even know how many home runs in the month of June. The dude is like literally red hot. Cedric's back into form. Is it time to entertain the questions of, while their value is where it is because of how they're playing right now, is that when you can capitalize on their trade value? And to be honest, it couldn't come at a more perfect time. I mean, we got, what is it, 5 weeks, 4.5, 5 weeks until the deadline. And that's when you need your guys' value to be where it's at. So, I mean, if you ask me, I think one of those guys could definitely be thrown into a package. I don't think we would see both of them going. It sucks because they are both Orioles through and through. I mean, you see it even if you just watch the game with Tony specifically. Like, him and Gunnar are laughing, giving each other wedgies, hugging. Like, people don't realize that Tony is a very influential part of this dugout. He's a big part of this team. And while it sucks that you would have to think about the idea of kind of, messing with that clubhouse a little bit, it's a business. And like we always say, Matt, we are trying to win a pennant. And when you're trying to win a pennant, you have to make really, really tough decisions. And we'll get into it. I know later you wanted to talk about Mike Elias's interview down in Norfolk, but Mike even said it that there's some decisions that are going to hurt.
Yeah. I want to, kind of, parlay into that conversation now because I want to mention something that Zach brought up in our comments. There was a rumor that broke this morning. I saw it on social media that the Orioles are in talks with the Tigers for Skubal, and it's going to take a huge haul. But we are talking about some top line prospects and major league ready guys. First and foremost, the the conversation that Elias had in that the interview that Elias be reading between the lines a little bit, Tim. But to me, I don't think Jackson's untouchable the way that I thought he was.
We love him. We talked about him a lot before his call up, how we wanted him here. We talked about him while he struggled up here, that, we think he's going to be a generational talent and that we really think, he is the truth, so to speak. And I still stand by those beliefs. I think that towards the beginning of the season in that call up, I was more on the train of he's untouchable. I don't know if that's necessarily the case right now. 162 games, a lot of stuff happens during that stretch. And I am with you. I don't necessarily think he's untouchable, especially if involving him in something is going to net a grade A, top of the line, reliable, determined, quality starter. And to be honest, it might take something like him to make that happen. It's interesting. Me and Zach in the comments had gone back and forth about this this week, that I was kind of under the impression that Skubal was sort of untouchable. So when that news came out this morning, I was intrigued a little bit. I think, it surprises me that the Tigers are willing to call it quits on the year already, if that does hold to be true. I go back and forth with this a lot because I think there's only 5 or 6 teams right now that are technically out of it. And that's part of the reason why there hasn't been much motion, is because there's still a lot of cards to fall into place. I mean, when teams are 3 games out heading into the All-Star break, they have to make that question in their own clubhouse. Are we going to be buyers or sellers? Do we think we can gain some ground being only 3 games out? And right now, it's a tight race all across the board. There are not a lot of sellers in this market, and I don't think Mike Elias is one that will jump all over something while the price is high. He's the guy that's going to wait until more sellers open up. There's more buyers and prices fall. The Skubal stuff definitely intrigues me. I really like the guy. Obviously, he would be that piece that we need. I don't know how much on top of a Jackson Holiday it would cost to net him.
Now, hypothetically speaking, with Jackson Holiday being mentioned, Tim, would you feel comfortable moving forward with the future of the Orioles if Jackson Holiday is the centerpiece to net Tariq Skubal, maybe X? Then you have the situation where Norby or Westberg could be your long-term second baseman. I don't think we're going to trade Mayo, as Zach pointed out in the comments with the stat line. 162 games in the minors, he's hitting 311, 47 home runs, almost 150 RBIs. Now, I know that it's the minor leagues and it's not the major leagues, but you got that waiting in the wings of third base or first base or wherever you want to put Mayo long term. If it meant having a rotation of Burns, Skubal, Grayson Rodriguez in the postseason, are you sacrificing Jackson Holiday at 20 years old?
With a Burns, Grayson, and Skubal, I am willing to do so. I think that the reason I'm behind that is because of the fact that I'm gonna pull something up here. This is some stats that come up to you, and you just kind of alluded to it a little bit. This comes out of our guy Zach in the comments, Pigtown Sports. This is the reason right here. I think that Kobe Mayo is going to be an Oriole. This stat that you're looking at right here, ladies and gentlemen, is Gunnar Henderson's last 30 games with the Norfolk Tide and Kobe Mayo's last 30 games with the Norfolk Tide. It's incredible, honestly, what we have sitting down there. I think Kobe is the answer to the infield. I think we probably see Urias get moved for some kind of bullpen arm, maybe some minor league bullpen, not a starting bullpen arm. I think Urias might net a minor league bullpen arm or something. They'll get something back for him. Opening up a spot there, especially with the amount of time he's playing, you could easily interchange that with a Mayo just for the time being. All of the talk about Jackson going back and forth, could he play center field? I think that moving him to acquire a guy like Skubal and open up that spot alleviates some of the gridlock concerns. You get rid of Urias, you get Mayo up here. And then you kind of see the future of the Orioles fall into form. I am in no aspects of the name a general manager. I will leave that job up to Mike. I don't want to play that game. But as far as when I look at it and I figure out a way, that's what I see. I mean, it's what Mayo's doing down there is absolutely unheard of. Holiday isn't coming close to the production that Mayo is down there right now. And he's 20 years old. I don't think his value would be higher than it is right now unless he went on a freak tear later in the year or early next year down there and looked better the part. But I think his name itself, him being the number 1 pick, still carries all of that weight. And I think his value is as high right now as it's going to be.
That's fair. That's a totally fair observation, Tim. It's just I don't know if Elias is going to necessarily concede to the fact that Jackson might not be who he was intended on being. Even though he's only 20, it's crazy to think that he was just drafted a little less than 2 years ago. And it's really hard to imagine a future where Jackson's not a part of that core in Baltimore. But if you have the opportunity to add a front of the end rotation starter, um, you got to at least consider it. Now, what Zach put up on the screen was a little scary, though, Tim. That Scooball's got 2 Tommy Johns already, and we are having a Tommy John plight here in Baltimore, to say the least. So that gives pause. And I don't think I would give up Holiday for Crochet, but I would definitely have to entertain other top end prospects going. Would I entertain a Norby centered deal to get Crochet? Absolutely. But all these absurd trade scenarios where we're trading Heston, McDermott, Norby, and Beavers for one guy is not going to happen unless that guy is like Mike Trout. But just, shout out to your guy that you always mention. But it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of scenarios where Jackson gets dealt.
No, I hear you, and that's the thing is like the Orioles they did a T-shirt giveaway on the day he got called up. Like the kid is, it's clear what they think about him and what he could do for this organization and the part he could be. As we kind of touched on a little bit, I mean, Mike Elias was asked that question during his Norfolk interview, and he didn't necessarily run away from it and give you that feeling that Jackson is untouchable, as some might expect. He kind of entertained the question. So it's definitely, I think we are in for a very interesting July. I wouldn't be surprised, and you can chalk this down now as a hot take, whatever you want to call it. I have a feeling that when the trade is made for a starting pitcher, we are going to get an alert on our phone that the starting pitcher that the Orioles acquire is some name that nobody talked about. And everyone's like, oh, that guy, yeah, he's pretty good. It's not going to be anybody on anybody's radar, anybody's map. Maybe, somebody had mentioned this guy somewhere along the lines. I think it's going to catch everybody off guard. I think what we give up for him are going to be names that you're kind of like, oh yeah, that works. Nothing that hurts, nothing that stings too bad. I think that's just Mike Elias's fashion. He finds these guys. It's going to be something that catches us off guard. I would like it to be some kind of crazy blockbuster. I am not big on Crochet. I've talked to you about this. I've talked to others about it, especially for what they're saying it's going to take to get him. I just can't. I mean, I know Scooball has the 2 Tommy Johns. Yes, that gives you pause. But the bigger pause for me is the fact that Crochet, I mean, he's literally on an inning count. Like he's on a pitch count. Like I don't know if I'm willing to give up everything they're asking for a guy that's on an innings watch. Like to me, I don't know. I know he's great and all, but I just don't. I kind of don't understand all of the obsessive hype around his name. That's just me.
I honestly, it might just be the fact that there's not many frontline starters that are available right now, and
I think that's definitely what it is.
He's just the popular. He's kind of like the prom king of this season, almost. He hasn't had long term sustainability and success, and he's having a good year, and he's going to be a very good pitcher for somebody, whether it's the White Sox, the Orioles, or somebody else. That remains to be seen, but it's not like he's the top of the 15. He's top of like 4 or 5.
No, I definitely think that it is because he is the biggest name on the current sellers list. But like I said, I think we're going to be caught off guard. I think we're going to see some pitcher's name come across and be like, really? and it's I just think that's how we operate here. But I'm looking forward to it. I really want to see a name come in where I'm like, oh man, now that's what we need heading in, to September and October. That is the name.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say I know a lot about the guy, but one guy that Zach brought up in the comments is Reese Olson from the Tigers, and he might be the more affordable and better long-term option for the Orioles that isn't going to mortgage the whole farm.
And he's consistent.
And that's what we need. We need consistency.
That's what I'm looking for, Matt. I mean, especially with how we got beat up with the injuries, you lose Wells first, then you lose Bradish, then you lose Means. It's like, I just would really like to see a solid arm, a 3-4 guy that can stand out there in October. I'm not concerned that his arm's going to fall off. I'll take a 2.5, 3.5 ERA. It doesn't have to blow my hat off my head. I want someone that I can rely on, that I'm comfortable with. I'm not biting my nails. Are we going to get 7 earned runs, Suarez? Are we going to get, like he did last night? Are we going to get 1 earned run, Suarez? Are we going to get 4-inning guy with Irvin? Or are we going to get, 6 2/3 inning Irvin tonight? I think, when we look at it, Matt, I'll be blunt. I'll be rough to you right now. I mean, we literally have 2 certified starters in the 5-man rotation right now. 2. We are sitting in first place, but I don't know how long. We're halfway through the season. I don't know if having 2 starters is going to get us much farther. So it's evident a move's going to be made. We've talked a lot about how it needs to be a starting pitcher. I'm also concerned with the bullpen. I think losing Danny Coulombe for the time being has been rather detrimental. A lot of people are very worried about it. I think Zach was talking about it earlier, that he and I kind of have the same view on this. Cano has looked to be struggling right now. If you run through our bullpen list, I don't think you can point out someone to me that you are 100% trust value at right now. And I think that that's a piece that you need in the playoffs. Is you need that. It doesn't even have to be your closer, your door slammer. It has to be somebody out of that pen that you're like, okay, I'm here. Here comes, I'm going to get 2 outs and a pop up or something, and that doesn't exist.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you mentioned Suarez like that, because he came in, had 2 fantastic starts for not playing in the majors in 7 full seasons, and then he hits a little bit of a bump in the road. He has a couple lackluster starts, a couple games where he didn't get out of the get to the fifth inning, and then last night he goes out and throws 6 scoreless, and it's like, okay. Yep. I mean, what do you say to that? I mean, he looked good last night, and like you said, what Irvin are we getting tonight? And now we have Povich up here. It looks like Povich isn't going anywhere, given our current state of our injuries right now. But Povich he's on a steep learning curve. It's very steep. We do need another arm. Before the bullpen, you got to get a starter. I don't care how, I don't care where, but you need to get a starter, because the bullpen can get help at a much lesser price than the starting rotation.
And and also, Matt, if you get that starter, you bump Suarez to the bullpen, which I'm way more comfortable with. So, bumping Suarez to the bullpen gives you that depth, gives you somebody that you do have a trust factor in for 1-2 innings. We need having that long guy, and then hopefully you get Danny back. I mean, I have not familiarized myself with the how long it takes guys to come back when they have bone fragments removed out of their arm. I'm more familiar with the Tommy John side of things, but I agree with you. Starter needs to be top and first priority. It's going to be a very, very interesting July in Baltimore.
Yeah, Irvin, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, Irvin coming back to earth has been what we expected.
And we've talked about that, and we've talked about that, at different points over this course. Like, when does this end? Because you and I are both have been, we both enjoyed the ride that Irvin gave us earlier in the year, where he looked like he was a good 4 or 5, in the rotation, and now it's like he is not coming back down to earth. He's crashing back down to earth, and Zach might be right. We could see Irvin sent down to the minors. It's not out of the realm of possibility. But just getting sent back to the minors, what does that do to his confidence? Because I think if you send Irvin back down, you don't see him in Baltimore again this year.
Yeah, and it would be tough just because of that confidence thing and how he's been honestly one of the steady guys in the rotation so far this season. But as Zach alluded to in the comments, is that the difference between Irvin and Suarez being in the pen is that Suarez is a Irvin is a soft tosser. Like, his stuff isn't necessarily there to come in and be a lights out guy for two innings out of the pen, versus Suarez, who can, he has that ability to be able to have a little bit of that freaky stuff for a couple innings. Irvin doesn't have it.
Yeah, it's crazy because Irvin has stuck around here for as long as he has, and now even with the rotation in shambles the way it is in terms of injuries, not production per se, but injuries, the fact that he still is on the potential chopping block speaks volumes about him just not having the stuff, quote unquote, that a starter needs to have to compete. The AL East is the hardest division in baseball. This is not for the faint of heart.
No, not at all. Especially when, um, the AL East contains guys like Soto and Judge, and Boston plays us tough every time, no matter what. Tampa Bay plays us tough every time, no matter what. Toronto plays us tough, and even though Toronto is struggling, and so are some of the players. I mean, there's still guys like Bichette and Vlad Jr. that you got to pitch to, and it's if you look at some of these superstars names in our division, I mean, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr., Aaron Judge, Soto. It's tough. It really is.
Yeah, it is tough, and this is it's like I just said, it's not for the faint of heart. You really gotta be a bulldog to pitch in this division. Zach, brings up another good point. If he was a good lefty on lefty guy, he'd have a spot here permanently, and he's not even that good against left-handers.
Interesting comment right there.
That's an
If
That's interesting. Wow. Um, I don't know if the Blue Jays would be willing to deal with in the division with the potential of having to see Bichette for another 2 years after this year.
you don't want to hear my thoughts on that, it's nothing. Statistically, and the guy's performance and the type of player he is, sure. I don't like the guy. I don't know. I would hope that he could mesh well with the dugout. I just have always and forever, there's just something about him and his personality that I am not a fan of. And I know that's probably stupid to base my opinion on a Bichette move based off of me just not liking the guy. But as Zach alluded to in the comments right there, I do not like that guy. His stupid headband and antics, I just not a fan.
But does he get himself together on a team that wins a lot of ball games as opposed to the dysfunction that is the Toronto Blue Jays? That's something you got to think about. Winning changes a lot of things. Being a part
It
of a
does.
good being a part of a good team, no matter what sport. We've seen a lot of guys change their ways to come here for the Ravens and the Orioles. I mean, right now the Orioles are the best team in baseball. Record wise, I don't know if they, whatever about the records, but the Orioles have one of the most promising futures in baseball with the amount of star players we got that are still under contractual control, and the fact that now this is a destination people want to come to, especially pitchers now, with the wall being pushed back and having a dynamite offense that can give them run support. Who wouldn't want to play here? And the Blue Jays are stuck in the basement. I believe they're in 5th place right now.
I agree with you. Who wouldn't want to come here? Winning does a lot for, these guys, especially the potential of winning when you're getting moved to a team that looks like they're going to make a deep run at this thing and secure a pennant. I mean, even if you watch the games, like when Burns was pitching the other night, Kowser had that short pop-up that he had to get in and make a diving catch on. And Burns is just smiling from ear to ear. And that's not a guy that you see out there grinning the way he is. He loves being on this winning team, and he loves knowing that he has players behind him that are embracing the winning atmosphere and doing what they do best in order to secure these wins. I mean, he turned around and he was literally laughing, smiling from ear to ear, and just seeing how happy a guy like him is. That's your ace coming in here, and you see him being happy. It definitely speaks volumes for other pitchers around the league. Like, I want to be a part of that. I want to go out there and know that I have this defense behind me. I want to have a deep wall to left. I want to be in the lineup with Grayson and Burns. Like, it goes a long way. And as Zach said, with the World Series lineup, I mean, you add Skubal to the mix, you're looking at a Burns, Grayson, Skubal, top 3, and then you secure up second base with a leadoff hitter like Bichette. That is, you look at that starting first game of a World Series game, and you go Bichette, Adley, Gunnar, Santander. Then you have guys like Kowser and Mullins and Heston, and then Jordan Westberg, who's an all-star in that lineup. Then you have a guy who can get on base like Mateo and they save players that are special like Mateo in the World Series. Like they are put in the game to go out there and steal bases. They come in to pinch hit and get put on base as a pinch runner to score those single runs that really count. And that is a World Series lineup, and that's what pipe dreams are made of. So
pipe dream indeed. What do you give up for Bichette, though?
I mean,
because here's the thing. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry.
Well, before you give here's the thing, I was going to say, whatever you give up, you're going to have to see every year.
Very true. Now,
you give up the guy that you have the best scouting report on.
You're not going to give up Heston for Bichette. You're not going to give up Norby for Bichette. Or if you do give up Norby, it's because you expect to keep Bichette here well past his free agency, and you expect to keep him here long term. Could Stowers go to Toronto? Because Stowers has the potential to be a 20-25 home run guy if he gets every day at bats. Do you put Stowers, do you give up Stowers? Do you give up Beavers? Do you give up Fabian? Do you potentially trade Bradfield Jr.? You got to look at a lot of this, because you don't. Bichette's not just your everyday player. He's a superstar in the league. Whether or not his stats always project that, he is a household name. He's a second generation baseball player. His father was extremely underrated when we were growing up, but his father was a hell of a baseball player. We came to respect that as we got older. But what do you give up for him? Now, if they don't want much, I'm for it.
Right. No, and I think that if they are willing to move Bichette, what they're going to be looking for, that means that they're in restart mode. You could say blow it up mode. I don't know if it would be totally blow it up mode, but it's there. You just put it up on the screen. It would be a package like that. It would probably be 3 or 4 minor league guys that are going to be future starters in this league. Trace Bright, love him. Luis De Leon, I covered him on one of our on the farm segments. That he's got it. And Mr. Billy Cook right now is turning some heads down there on the farm. So I think it'll be a package where Toronto is going to net several players that are going to be breakthrough potential starters in years to come and part of their quote unquote rebuild. I think that's the only way Toronto is moving him, is looking towards the future, because they are in restart mode. So it'll be a package involving several players, several good players, several potential players, but all of those names we just listed there, I mean, with how young our team is, it's a gridlock. So, I think that there's a reason we have all of these assets in the farm system, and it's to do what we're doing now, and that is talk about potential moves in order to bring in the players it takes to go win a World Series. We touched on him for a second, and I think he is severely underrated, and you already know who I'm going to talk about, because we've mentioned how Mullins has turned it on. We've mentioned how Tony has turned it on, and we're talking about filling a void at second base right now. Personally, Jorge Mateo has absolutely turned it on. He looks awesome. He looks great at the plate. He defensively, you know what he does. He calls havoc on the baseline. Like I really would hate to see him involved in any kind of transaction. I think he is
I don't think he's
extremely
going
valuable.
anywhere.
No, he is a valuable asset to this team. Anytime there is a Spanish-speaking pitcher on the mound, Rufin Dodor had kind of given him the go-ahead that, hey, you're the man now. He steps up to the plate. He does the translating, and he doesn't speak necessarily the best English there is, but he's out there also being a hype man. Like last night, you saw him standing on the mound, and he was doing this with his hands, telling the pitcher, like, calm down, calm down, calm down. Like, he's all about this team. He's playing really well. I love seeing him at the bottom of the order. He gets on base. You have Gunnar coming up, and Gunnar at the plate with Mateo on base is like a pitcher's nightmare. How do you not leave one hanging when you got a guy standing halfway to second base who can take 6 steps and be there? He stole second, or I mean, he tagged up on a pop fly to right field last night, Matt, and went from first to second. That's a rarity. When's the last time you've seen a player tag up from first to second on a pop fly to right field?
Not often in the Camden Yards, that's for sure.
And that aggression out there, it's interesting to think that we're talking about moving in someone to second base, and I get it that Bichette is that leadoff hitter, that locked up second baseman that you need, but I think that Mateo might not get the credit he deserves for what he's putting together right now out there. So I had to run off track there a little bit for my guy Jorge, because I really like him, man.
Here's the thing, though. Would Bichette be willing to move to second base?
I think if you told him that we're going to make a run at a pennant, yeah.
But just like, I'm going to equate this to football for a second. Everybody wants to be a quarterback growing up. Everybody wants to have the ball in their hands. Everybody wants to be the guy. When you were growing up playing baseball, everybody wanted to play shortstop. You know, if you thought you had any kind of athletic ability, you were the shortstop. You were playing in the deep hole. And at the major league level, you're talking about a former all-star shortstop, and you're going to trade for him and say, hey, you're going to be our everyday second baseman now. And like you said, with his attitude and his ego, would that mesh well, knowing that he's getting traded to a team where he's not even the best infielder on the team at all, where he's clearly the best in Toronto.
Maybe not even top 2. Like, it's just, I don't know. If you're an opposing team's, you're at the plate for an opposing team, and you look out there and your defensive spread is a Jordan Westberg to a Gunnar Henderson to a Bo Bichette to a Ryan Mountcastle, like, yeah, good riddance. And as Zach said, like, you tell the guy, like, you want to win a World Series in your career and play second base, or do you want to play shortstop forever and never win a World Series and be like, not even in the top 5 as the best shortstops in the league? So if I'm Bo, that decision isn't very hard. There could be some pride there where he's, it's not happening on his end, but I would like to think that guy wants to go out there and win. Still think that his face needs to get
Yeah.
punched. But other than that,
All right. Yeah, that's 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 funny. But to wrap up the show, Tim, I know that you and I are big home run derby guys. And the home run derby and the All-Star game and the break is about just under 2.5 weeks away. Um,
mm-hmm.
you and I have differing views on Gunnar Henderson participating. Um, I truly believe that he should not because he's on pace for a 55 home run year, and I don't want his swing to be screwed up heading into the second half of the season. Now, do you think that Gunnar participates, and do you believe that Adley makes his second appearance in a row?
So Gunnar was asked if he would not necessarily participate, what he thought about the home run derby. He was asked, and he, he's a very polite guy, man of not many words sometimes, but boy, he had a shit eating grin on his face. And I think he's mumbled the words, that could be fun. So, I mean, I really do think that, man, oh man, that could be really fun. That could be fun. I am concerned of what it does to you. I don't know though. I mean, we saw Adley do it. We saw Adley switch, and he went on that tear in the second or third round where he was launching nukes. And I don't think we saw much of a fall off in his ability come the rest of the year. That's funny right there, Zach. Can you imagine? My neighbors would call the cops if it was a Gunnar Santander in the finals. But I think, honestly, Matt, I think that if he's asked, he's going to say yes. I'm going to say my hallelujahs every night that nothing happens that messes up his flow. But I think that if he's presented the opportunity, he's going to do it. And I think that if there's any player that could stay focused and then not let it disrupt anything, it would be him.
Hey, I do agree with you. I think that they have the fortitude to keep everything even keel heading into the second half of the year. Special shout out to the Just Fans podcast. You guys are Astros fans. Thank you for the kind words. It's not often we hear other teams giving us kudos on the air, but
I mean,
I just want to.
You can give kudos after you sweep us. Like I'll take it.
Yeah, but I do want to make mention that I am I think Gunnar is, let's see, 14 or 13 home runs away from my overcooked steaks.
He is at 26. And you know what's funny is I don't know, any of these viewers have been watching on social media. I do it on Facebook and I do it on Twitter. I have like a little home run count with these pizza slices that I update every time he hits a bomb. The last couple times I've done it, Papa John's account has been liking it. And they slid into my DMs on the last one with a little winky face. So I think, I don't know, I'm going to keep doing it. Trying to get a little, maybe I can have a Tim Malarkey. Maybe they can help me afford your overdone, well done, whatever you want to call it, steak.
Whatever. Medium well's not overdone. We're not doing this on the air at the end of the show.
I'm gonna get Papa John's to do a well done steak pizza just for you.
I'll eat
it. No, I mean, Matt, one thing I wanted to run by, I didn't pull up a Guess the Oriole for you this go round, so I'm not going to ask you to guess. But before we get out of here, I just want you to see the Mona Lisa of baseball, so to speak, right now. And let me just pull it up. Bear with me. This is like, what you're seeing here is unheard of. This guy, he's got a 6.0 WAR right now, which is the highest WAR a player has had up to this point in the season since none other than Barry Bonds. Obviously, if you have been watching, you know anything about baseball, even if you're not an Orioles fan, you know I have to be talking about Gunnar Henderson. So let's see.
Stephanie spoiled it already.
Yeah, I just want you to see this StatCast. I haven't seen anything like this in a long time. I mean, there isn't a category on here where you are like, whoa. It's look at that. I mean, just look at that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, this was leading into the very last thing I wanted to say to you before we get off the air, because I'm tired of turning on MLB Network. I'm tired of turning on ESPN, and every single commentator, talking head, whatever you want to call it, is just saying, you know, when Judge wins MVP, future MVP Judge. What in what world are we giving Judge the MVP right now when you have Gunnar Henderson doing what he's doing?
It's an alternate universe. That's why I don't watch ESPN.
I think that, you know how us Orioles fans showed up for the All-Star vote. If more of us get out there, keep pushing the narrative, we could see a Gunnar Henderson MVP, back-to-back rookie MVP year. And I mean, exactly. He's 8 to 10 years younger than Judge too. So enough with this Yankee influenced hype train on all of the talking heads channels that you can turn on. Gunnar Henderson is the MVP of the American League right now. I am a statistic driven fan, and you can't tell me that Judge is the MVP over Gunnar Henderson. And also reminding everybody in 2 days to go keep hammering those all-star votes for the Orioles. We showed up in numbers, and it is a beautiful thing to see. Oh yeah, it's
yes,
Gunny's
it
birthday.
is, and yes, it is. It's Gunner's birthday, but the Astros Just Fans podcast. Hey, they're right. Hey, it's Yankees and Dodgers than everybody else.
Yep, it is.
That'll do it, folks. We will be back next week at some point. I know that
What's
we
your
got some
prediction?
vacations
Last two
coming
games.
up. Last two games. Oh, it's gonna be a sweep. We're gonna take the Rangers out,
just like they did to us in October. Never forget.
Yep, we're getting ours back in blood. But hey, Tim, let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
You guys know it. Facebook, Tim Malarkey, obviously, but the X is where you will just get flooded. Twitter, whatever you want to call it, with Orioles stuff. It's right there at the bottom of your screen. T_Malarkey. Come holler at me. Shoot me some mentions. I got a couple polls up right now about the willingness to trade Holiday. It's actually 45 and 45, I think, right now. Yes and no, with a couple votes for over hell or high water. But
there you have it, folks. We'll be back next week to recap the Rangers series, get a little bit closer to the All-Star break and the trade deadline. That'll do it, folks. This has been brought to you by Driving to the Top Productions. We'll see y'all next time.